In the news today, we've got stories. This made the viral rounds the other day of kids at Capitol Hill Elementary School in Portland, Oregon, sitting on buckets to socially distance from their classmates outside in 40-degree weather. That's also happening in New York City. It's not just Portland, and it's cold in New York. All of this is madness. As far as I understand, there are either no or almost no documented case of people getting COVID outside, and yet still we punish the little ones, Bethany.
Yep. It's really infuriating. So I wrote a column about this today for Deseret News. I didn't even wait for my editor to say that he wanted it. I just sent him the column and I was like, I'm really angry. And usually that's when I write good stuff. So here's a column for you if you care to put it on your website. So it's right now on DeseretNews.com. But I'm basically talking about this. And I think the turning point and the final screw in the coffin of Terry McAuliffe's campaign in Virginia was when he had Randy Weingarten on, and it was like his sort of final push. And by having her on, he said, this is the status quo as far as he's concerned for Virginia schools. And she was the reason why kids in Virginia didn't go back to school, why things still feel like a prison. I honestly think that it's probably better in some prisons than it is in public schools around the country. And now Jen Psaki is out there saying, it's not really so bad. And my 3-year-old does it. My 3-year-old eats outside. So, what's the big deal? And if that's going to be the Biden campaign's message in several years and going into the midterms, they're going to get absolutely buried because this is absolute insanity to see people on one weekend, shoulder to shoulder at concerts, at Broadway shows, at restaurants, doing normal things. We can do normal things as adults, but then on Monday, kids are in school wearing masks, silent lunch, facing a wall, sitting on the floor, social distancing at lunch, as if they were the most at risk instead of the least at risk.
Yeah, exactly. Even unvaccinated, they are the least at risk. And by the way, so Jen Psaki's focus group of one is infuriating. With all due respect, I don't really give a damn that her kid has no problem with it. Her job is literally to listen to the millions of Americans with different feedback and come up with policy, her boss's job, that makes sense. I don't want to hear one more word about her kid and how delightful it is for them to be in a mask. Tell it to, this reminds me of, this is full screen too for my staff. Tell it to this kid who's hearing impaired. A mom tweeted this out. My hearing impaired son drew this picture in October. He wears one hearing aid, and you can imagine the challenges he has faced. We went back to school in August 2020. Her little kid cannot understand what anyone is saying because their mouths are covered. There was a lawsuit. There was a lawsuit, Bethany, by parents with kids who have disabilities against DeSantis in Florida, saying his law that he signed, saying I'm not going to mandate masks, and I'm not going to allow anyone to mandate masks, is what he said. Parents can make up their own mind, but I'm against mask mandates in this state. They said it's not fair to the kids with disabilities. They won't be able to go to school. They're immunocompromised. They have to be assured that everybody there is going to wear a mask. What about this kid? What about his disability? What about the fact that he can no longer understand anyone? This sweet little boy who can't complain about anything. Finally, his mother has got to say, please help him.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we think that COVID is the first and only virus that has ever existed in humanity. I have a friend who has a severely immunocompromised, very delicate, medically fragile child. And during flu season every year, she pulled both of her kids out because she knew that if her kids got the flu, it would be a death sentence for her child. And so she pulled him out. I don't understand why it's any different and why we have to reorder all of society around a few really tragic cases. But the reordering society also comes with a cost. And that's something that no one feels comfortable talking about. We talk about masking toddlers and masking 5-year-olds and high schoolers and whatever. And we act as though it's a zero cost intervention, but we're seeing those costs. We're seeing those costs in the Surgeon General's report, a 53-page sort of emergency statement from the Surgeon General saying there's a youth mental health crisis going on and rates of depression and anxiety are skyrocketing. The number of teenage girls who are attempting suicide has literally doubled. This is an absolute crisis, and it has a lot of components, but masks are part of it, quarantines are part of it, and just also the unpredictability of life for these kids. I shared last night on Twitter, I was talking to my 8-year-old, and she said, I don't remember life before the masks. Like I have vague memories. My 6-year-old doesn't really remember it. And my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old have absolutely no memories of life before masks and life before COVID. And I'm, as a parent, I'm sick of saying we can't do XYZ because of COVID. And I mean, I'm not locked down. We are living our lives every day for the last year and a half, but we can't get on, and this was another Deseret News column, we can't get on a plane because my 2-year-old can't wear a mask for 6 hours through the airport and down to Florida or California or whatever. So should we drive? Is that the answer? We'll just be driving to Florida.
They're saying more and more parents are doing that. It's like, okay, well, that's great for you. But if you got 5 kids driving to Florida, it really isn't all that much of a joy. It's not that easy. And by the way, with gas prices what they are, it's extra difficult right now. And
statistically, it's more dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely right. And more dangerous than COVID for children, too, by the way, putting them in the car and driving them down to Florida. That makes no sense whatsoever. A friend of mine, a woman who I follow on Twitter who I love, and she had sent me this a while ago. I couldn't get it out of my head. I'm going to put this up. It's full screen number 1. It's a kid drawing another kid. And she said, this is a drawing one of my little boy's classmates did of him. And it shows her son in a mask. This kid has never seen her son's face. This child drew a portrait of their new friend with the mask. They don't know what his smile looks like. It's heartbreaking. It actually does make me upset. It's deeply wrong and immoral. And I have to tell you, Bethany, like, I'm a little tired of people. And I love Rand Paul, but I'm tired of people being like, resist. It's like, don't you understand? Like, they have to go to school. I know, I appreciate moms who homeschool. For me, I can't. I have a job. I need to do that. And also, I want stability. I just pulled them from the New York City schools because of the crazy CRT stuff. Now I'm going to pull them again. Like, they need stability. I just want reason. I don't want to have to pull them. I want reason to be restored.
Yep. And that's the thing that gets me to people. Last night, one of my favorite people on this issue, Rory Cooper, he's a parent of 3 kids out of Fairfax. And he posted a video of a concert, wall to wall, no masks, no distancing, people shoulder to shoulder, literally probably thousands of people. And he said, my 11-year-old has to eat lunch. My vaccinated 11-year-old has to eat lunch silently. My 9-year-old has been going to, school in a mask this whole time. And my 6-year-old has never experienced a normal school setting. And it's infuriating. And the people that were responding to him were like, fight, Rory, fight. And I was like, what would you like him to do? I texted him. I was like, Rory, why don't you fight? Why didn't you think about that? We are powerless as parents. And it's a really enraging feeling and really heartbreaking feeling, knowing that my children's childhood is just slipping away and there's nothing we can do about it.
It's not like
how
CRT.
I kind of get it out.
It's not like CRT or crazy trans ideology or the inappropriate sexual lessons on, kink at school. That we can fight. That we can show up at the school board meeting. We can yell at people. And we can argue about the COVID mask policies and the mandatory vaccines and all that. But the truth is, with that stuff, our kid will not be allowed to show up and go to class unless we comply.